Thanks for watching, everybody. This is the 2024 Masters Preview Show. We're going to tell you exactly, before it's been printed, before it's happened, who's going to win the Masters. We're going to actually make a perfect pick, 1 through 50, of exactly who's going to win. No, we're not going to do that, but we're going to give our best chance, and I have some really good insight from Vegas. I'm here with Big Boy Pants Golf right now. He is my guy that has his ear to the, what would you say, ear to the wire of exactly what's happening in pro golf, and a really, really successful predictor of things that are going to happen in golf, and also kind of like a journalist of what insider of what's happening, not only on the PGA Tour, but Live Tour and everything else. How's it going?
Brendan DeVore, thank you for having me on. This is going to be an awesome episode. We're going through all the picks, and we're going to figure out who you should put your money on.
Right. So I know, like, the way it happens in my office, people who are not golf people come up to me and they say, hey, help me fill out my bracket. And that has worked out sometimes, and it has really worked out poorly other times. But I got a couple stats I think that we should look at. I think the first thing I want to look at, and I think this might lead to a broader conversation, is I'm going to share my screen with you here and go to this. No, not that. This. All right, so this is just the easiest Masters pool tier that I could see. It's a little small. Let me. It's would be better if it was up down, but that's okay. All right. So what I thought was interesting here, Pants, was that right here, I have never seen this really before, but you can sort this by your tier by odds and your tier by world rank. So if we go. Now, you don't get into the Masters because of Vegas odds, and you don't get into the Masters because of PIP money or because of how many followers you have or anything else. What gets you into the Masters specifically, from what you know?
There are 20 qualifications, Brendan, and it's very heavily PGA Tour favored because you have the OWGR, which is now very diluted and basically helps get more PGA Tour players in, because you got the top 50 at the end of last year. You got the top 50 OWGR guys at the week before the Masters. You've got all these very pro PGA Tour, pro America qualifications to get in. And then they throw you the odd bone of like number 10 on the qualifications for invitation to the Master Tournament is current Latin America amateur champion. So they throw a couple, breadcrumbs out there, but it's very much like, let's get these PGA Tour guys in, including the guys who got into the Tour Championship last year.
Right. So what I thought was interesting here is that, like, you get into the Masters not by Vegas odds, you get in the Masters by world rank. So let's just look first at world rank here. So this is the OWGR, and I don't know anybody who is gambling on golf or is predicting golf, or a golf journalist that really is risking their money, so when it really matters, based off of the OWGR. What are some of your favorite rankings to look at that are, or do you like the official World Golf Ranking? What are the rankings you actually look at?
No rankings matter at this point. Every one of them is flawed. Every one of them has some kind of weird measuring stick. For example, Tugger will end up having
TUGR. Is it org? But that's the one I like.
Except for the fact that it has Steve Stricker constantly around the 50th mark.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to have these guys come in based on their world ranking, you're not trying to get Steve Stricker in, who never plays regular tour events.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just weird to be like, okay, this Champions Tour guy never plays a PGA Tour or a DP World Tour event, but because he's really good on the Champions Tour, now he's 50th in the world, now he gets into the majors. Makes no sense.
And then who's the other guy? Is like, it's another guy that puts up a ranking that's almost seems very heavily live favored. It's like an Australian guy or something that just publishes it on Twitter. But I'm seeing a lot of betting people being successful following his philosophy. Do you know this guy that I'm talking about? It's like an SI ranking or something like that.
SI, I think, is separate. There's another guy named, I think, John Erickson or something like that on X. And he puts out these rankings, and, they're better because they better incorporate live players, which the other guys don't do, including the current rankings or the current odds right now. They're always not getting the live guys right, and they're undervaluing them, and that's where the value is.
Okay, So that could be where the value is that other people are ignoring. Let's just go through, if you were, and nobody would do this, and I think this shows how flawed and problematic the official world golf ranking is right now. If you just look at this and you go to the official world golf ranking, and nobody would set up their Masters pool like this. So Masters pools, how they work is like you get tiers. You're allowed to usually like pick one guy from tier one, two guys from tier two, something like that. And so, for example, if we did this, this is based off of just world rank. These would be the top guys. And if you look at it by themselves, you would think like, okay, that's pretty good. But then as you go down, really where it starts to show some strangeness is here. You have Dustin Johnson getting relegated to the tier 6, along with Bryson DeChambeau and a lot of other like bigger names. And Brooks Koepka is all the way down in tier 4. He finished second last year, and if you look at his recent finishes at the Masters, you'd think he would be one of the top picks. And so it's really, nobody would do this. So I think that just shows the odds are much better to look at. Now that you use the odds, look at Joaquin Niemann, a name that I'm sure we'll talk about, gets blasted all the way up to tier 1. And I think that might be where your value starts to emerge, because Joaquin Niemann and some of these other tiers is not even in tier 1. And I think so start to go through some of your so that's basically what it is, and we'll go through this later, but start to go through some of your ideas of what you think will happen this year.
Let's go to tier 1. We're scrolled up to tier 1.
Yep.
And you look, Scotty Scheffler, he's not 4-1. He's 4-1 on these non-elevated PGA Tour events.
Yeah, that could be one of the highest odds ever in the last 10 years, like 25% chance to win the Masters. It's like wild.
So you have a guy who can 4-putt from 6 feet at any moment on the slickest greens out there. Doesn't make sense to me. Then you got Brooks Koepka, who's a different beast when it comes down to the majors, right? He can turn it on really specifically just for the majors. So, you look at his regular tour wins, doesn't have that many. Has 5 majors, maybe 7 regular events. So he's a different animal when you get him into the majors. He finished second in 2019. He finished second last year. He knows the course. He's ready. He's hungry. He wants this. Then you also have, and remember also, Koepka is the guy who changed that narrative about live golf. They're not ready for the majors when he won the PGA Championship, because he was getting punked a little bit when he finished second to Rahm, because he came apart on the last day a little bit. Didn't have his A game. Now he's back. He's hungry. And as you pointed out, now you got Joaquin Niemann. What kind of odds are those? This guy's the hottest guy on the planet right now in terms of wins, in terms of momentum. And you have Jordan Spieth, which is odd because he's not playing particularly well. So that's what I'm saying in terms of the PGA Tour guys are getting a little bit bad odds, and the live guys, that's where the money's at.
Yeah, I don't. One thing I think, if you've watched any live golf this year, you might have an advantage over other people in this, only because I don't think people realize how good right now Joaquin Niemann is, especially with his driver. Augusta National, a lot of lefties have won there because it favors a certain shape. He can legitimately hit it any way he wants. He can really stand on the tee and do anything he wants with the driver. I think that's going to, and not only that, but he's doing it at like 185 or more ball speed. Like, it's unbelievable. Pound for pound, definitely the longest and best, I think, driver of the ball. One thing I wanted to ask you about, though, is that Rory McIlroy has a lot of very high finishes at the Masters. Second, 2022, I think, and then also earlier when he hit that snap hook famously into the cottages. Why do you think he hasn't gotten the job done at Augusta, and why did he not even register on your radar when we were first kind of going over this list? Because that's a lot of people, Rory fanboys and things like that, but then also some big money people are going behind this year being Rory's year. What do you think about Rory's chances?
I mean, super talented, probably top 5 talented golfers in the world right now. But you just like Phil Mickelson, 6 second places at the U.S. Open? Just never got it done. It only gets harder because now he's 34. So, time's kind of catching up with him a little bit. I just don't see him doing it this year because he's not even particularly well in form. You remember the Dubai Desert Tournament where he melted down and he lost it to Tommy Fleetwood, who also never really wins. So now I'm reading articles in Golf Digest where Rory's tweaking his forearm and by strengthening it 1 degree. He's doing all these little things. Something's going to go wrong like it always does for him. And maybe he backdoor top tens it like he always does at the end. Again, supremely talented guy, but just doesn't get it done at the Masters. The one time he had his big lead, he shot a 43 on the back nine.
Right.
Scar tissue, right?
Yeah. One thing I thought was interesting, a friend of mine won his Masters pool last year. And now this is going down further into the list if you're really trying to fill out like who to pick. But a friend of mine, Dr. Kevin Sverduk, who his daughter 2 years ago did that drive, chip, and putt. And anyway, he trained some PGA Tour players. Anyway, he really looks at, when you're going further down the list and trying to choose, he really looks at who this year is doing well in 3-putt avoidance. And something that I thought was interesting, so I just looked at that stat to try to like fill out my bracket on the bottom end of it to see how some of these guys are doing in 3-putt avoidance specifically. And actually, somewhat under the radar, Xander Schauffele is number 1 in 3-putt avoidance this year. So, and he's usually like a really great driver of the ball as well, but I just can't imagine that in my mind, him winning this tournament. Like he seems to, I don't know, like he seems to be happy to be there a little bit. Like I don't know if he's really has that.
We just saw at the Players Championship. He's right there. Had every opportunity to win it. He's been a top 5, top 10 machine this year. Always there, right? Big money guy, but only has 5 or 6 PGA Tour wins. And if you look in terms of like full field events, maybe 4 wins. Sure, he won the Olympics, but I mean, he's playing against the guy from like Nigeria or these random countries, or Rory Sabatini, who's going in as a Slovakian. These aren't really big events he's winning. And when he's in the hunt, the Masters a few years ago, he was birding it. He's on a big birdie streak and then triples on the 16th.
Right.
So at any point, the guy can come apart. Maybe doesn't really have it. He's like another Patrick Cantlay. They don't show up for the majors as much.
Yeah, I was surprised. I looked at Patrick Cantlay's record here, and because of his game, like there's been times when he's been the best putter in the world, and like for a period of 2 or 3 months, like he's been like absolutely electric with the putter, and he's strokes gained driving. When you put not strokes gained driving, total driving, when you put the number between distance and accuracy together, he's like the top or one of the top guys for every year he's been on the tour with total driving. So like those two things together, you think he would be really great at Augusta. But it seems like he's kind of more content. Again, this is more like a feeling. There's no stats to it. But it seems like he's more content. I would see him winning like a U.S. Open more than I would see him winning a Masters. I don't know why. It seems like he's more of like a nose to the grindstone kind of guy rather than like totally lighting.
Remember when Cantlay was in the playoff with Lucas Glover at the end of the year last year? On the pressure drive, he hits it in the water. So, there's been plenty of times where Cantlay on the last hole, I think there's a Vegas tournament, he just puts it out of play.
Right. Okay, so I'm gonna close my window here. I know you have some stuff prepared to show people. We'll do our final picks at the end of this, and then Eric and then also when we do it, we're gonna decide. I don't know how we'll do it, but when we do it, I want everybody to put your picks from each tier in the comments below, and we're gonna go back and look and see who did the best in this. So basically, I think what you do is tell me if you think this is right. You make 6. There's So you make 6 picks. You get one pick from every tier, and then I think you get you make 6 picks. You get 1 pick from every tier, and then you drop your 2 worst scores at the end of the week and combine.
Brendan, I got to throw one thing else out there.
Yeah.
Do you know that Viktor Hovland hasn't had a top 20 this year yet?
Really, that's interesting because controversial split with his coach, or maybe just a friend. I don't know how much. I think some of that got muddled up with another person from Las Vegas, Joseph Mayo. And then after it seems like since that, man, he was setting the world on fire. I haven't really heard from him since then. And now I know that he's gone to, I think, Grant Waite, who is incredibly gifted, great teacher, but very technical as well. So I don't know if he's getting lost in the sauce a little bit or what's going on with Viktor Hovland.
His best finish is a T19 at the Genesis, and everything else is that has been pretty bad. He also, I heard in a show that he's now saying that Joseph Mayo really didn't do that much for him. He was just timing it well with his hands. So all these people moved into that Joseph Mayo space, and now Viktor Hovland's backing out of it.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. Because I don't know. I'd have to hear the quote directly, but I mean, he was spinning his wheels for about 10 years trying to time it with his hands. So, and then all of a sudden that guy's around and the time it with his hands started working. I think there's a huge thing to be said for somebody just freeing you up and saying, hey, don't worry about getting steep on it. Stop worrying about that. And just, that could actually be a good thing. And then that kind of frees him up to, takes the red lights off of what he's trying to do anyway. So, and that sounds kind of like what happened, but to discount that, I don't know. I'd have to see that quote. It's always the thing always with teachers, and then also with coaches in every sport is at the same time, like managers in baseball or coaches in football, they get too much credit, or the captain in the Ryder Cup, they get too much credit for a win, and they at the same time get too much credit and too little credit. It's like, really, you're not playing the shots, but at the same point, you might never really. I've seen people get like way better through effective coaching, and then I've also seen people get way worse. It's really up to the person more than anything.
Brandon, I have a question for you.
Joseph Mayer would ever disagree with any of that.
Brendan, we got Taylor Moore in there, and we got
Who's that?
Exactly, and Nick Taylor. So you got Nick Taylor and Taylor Moore, but
Wow.
you don't have Taylor Gooch.
Okay, so let's talk about the Masters snubs this year. The most egregious snub, really, I think, was Louis Oosthuizen. Not only because he won. Did he win twice on the DP World Tour?
Yes,
or once.
I think he won twice.
Yeah, so he actually, this is something that I disagree with a lot of live golf people with. I don't think Taylor Gooch went out and earned it like Joaquin Niemann did. Joaquin Niemann said, hey, this is the way. He didn't like sit in his laurels or whatever and said, Greg Norman, go fix this, or whoever, go fix this, get our points reinstated, find a way for them to get us into the Masters, and I'll just keep playing well on live and concentrate on live. Joaquin Niemann went out and really traveled. I mean, he logged like Gary Player-esque kind of miles to Australia and won the Australian Open, and I think he played in South Africa. He definitely played in Oman and some other places, like all over the world, like trying to gain points. And he did, and he played really well. So to hear Taylor Gooch talk about the asterisks and other stuff like that, although I think there might be something to that, I really don't have any sympathy for that, because in the situation the way it is right now, you have to be going beyond any like principle about, well, I think I should be in because I was the top guy on live, which is, the biggest money tour on the world and whatever else. It's just like, this is the reality of it. And if you really want it, start racking up the miles and putting yourself in the position to at least, maybe if you wouldn't even get into the top 50 by winning, I think you would probably have to win 10 Asian Tour events to get into the top 50, maybe 20. But at least it puts you on the radar, and you become such an egregious omission like Joaquin Niemann was, such an egregious omission that you just have to have him in the event. I mean, that would have really cheapened the Masters if Joaquin Niemann wasn't in it. So this, I think, does, not having Louis Oosthuizen does cheapen it for a couple reasons. One, he's played solid on live. He hasn't been lighting the world on fire on live, but he's gone out, and the Masters really wants to be a global product, and he's won all over the world on the DP World Tour against ranked and good players. The other thing is, like, I just cannot forget that albatross that Louis Oosthuizen made on at the Masters. Like he has history there. He almost won. He was really, really close. Did he lose to Angel Cabrera in a playoff or something like that? But famously, he hits this shot, and in the Masters, it's one of the best struck shots I've ever heard on TV, where he hits this. It was either a hybrid or a 5-wood or something like that, and it just echoes through the trees. And the birds even like stop tweeting for a second because like he hit it so good. It curves around, it lands and somewhere near the front of the green, and like a remote control golf ball goes into the hole. It was just like such an iconic moment there. It was like I don't think ever since the shot heard around the world like in the 30s or something was like there a double eagle that was so close to the end or something like this. Between those two things, I think Louis Oosthuizen really missed out. Not only that, but like Louis Oosthuizen's last year on the PGA Tour, he was either number 1 or 2 in strokes gained putting. He's a really, really underrated putter, and he's still doing it even as he's like approaching 40, or he might even be 40 by now. But he is such a good putter, and his ball striking is like basically on repeat. So not insanely long, but for Augusta, I think he definitely has a bet. I would like Louis Oosthuizen's chances better than Taylor Gooch. Taylor Gooch did he get into any majors last year?
I don't recall. I'm sure. I think he did. I'm not.
Yeah, but I know
how.
that his majors record is not great.
No,
So,
but either is Max Homa's.
But you mentioned another. Yeah, good point. You mentioned another Taylor Moore, put a lineup. I mean, I'm a golf person, right? I could not pick out Taylor Moore. He could walk by me at the mall, or he could come up to me on the range and ask to give me tips, and I'd be like, "Why? Like, why are you giving?" Like, I would have no idea. And it's not a knock on him. I'm sure he's a great player. He's in the Masters field, but yeah, Taylor Gooch. I mean, in the gaming world, they would say 1v1 me, bro. Like, I would like to see that battle of the Taylors. I'll put it on Be Better Golf for sure.
Well, you got. Let me just add some more facts because we got a few wrong. Louis Oosthuizen won once.
Okay, thanks.
Dean Burmester won back to back, but at that point, Liv Golfers had won 4 in a row. So Dean Burmester had the two wins. Louis Oosthuizen lost in that playoff with Bubba Watson.
Okay. Yep.
2012. I mean, he should be in there because don't just look at the Liv players who have these higher standards now. Apparently, look who's getting in because these Liv players aren't in, and that's the other major issue. You just have like so many guys, just like the Taylor Moore. Why do you want these guys in there who no one knows about when there's a Louis Oosthuizen who has a proven track record, wins the Open, lost in a playoff to the Masters, still playing well in his early 40s? Yep. You're hurting your own product in the end. I mean, that's why to me, it's a asterisk. And I kind of agree with Taylor Gooch. Get him in there because, apparently these guys are supposed to be merging, right?
Yeah, for a long time, I don't have the latest info on this, but for a long time, there was talk about sports washing and other things like this. And then I think the governor or whatever, the top government guy of South Australia just said this in the news, where he says that this seems to have been a complete negotiating tactic. Everything that was put out about the sports washing and the blood on their hands and blood money and things like that. And I think that was basically correct. That was basically proven correct as soon as the PGA Tour said, "Hey, let's do business with you." I'm like, oh, I thought you were above that. Yeah, so I think that came out to be additional egg on the face of Jay Monahan and people in the PGA Tour. But back to the Masters. So what do you think? Are there any stats that you think people should look at that would maybe pick people out? One of the things that I don't like about Liv is their stats are way worse than the PGA Tour. PGA Tour has ShotLink, and you can go in, you can really get granular into the stats of what's going on. Liv, like even their driving distance, other things, it's like the kind of stats you would get at like I don't know, not even a Corn Ferry event.
Here's my feeling on the stat thing.
Yeah.
You got the majors. It's a completely different animal. Max Homa, he's top 10 in the world as per the OWGR, right? Never shows up in the majors. So you always got to factor in, and then Brooks Koepka, average in regular events, phenomenal in majors. So you almost need a different type of weighing system and be like, this is this guy in a regular event, and this is the guy in the cauldron that are majors. So you
Yeah,
got
very different.
Max Homa, one top 10 is first top 10 is the British Open last year. Brooks Koepka, obviously 5 majors. Phil Mickelson, horrible season on Live last year, out of nowhere, T2. So you also have these guys on the Masters. It's this whole different field. Instead of looking at stats, you still have Freddie Couples probably making the cut in his mid-60s. Because
Right.
you still have that horses for courses thing. It's a lot of the knowledge of how to play the course.
Yeah,
So
and just comfort level too. Since Fuzzy Zoller, there hasn't been a first timer. Like a lot of people are talking about Ludwig Aberg this week, and he's in the top tier, and I think he's probably one of the top 15 golf talents in the world, maybe even higher than that. But at Augusta, amongst in that, it's just like the vibe of it, because like I think part of it is you're so happy to be there, and you really don't want to step on toes. You can't like really walk around like you would at like a normal event and like do your normal routine. Like people are kind of putting you in places. Here's your practice time. Here's your this. It's like it kind of messes your routine up. Whereas like somebody like Fred Couples is going there, and it's like he can literally just walk anywhere he wants, do whatever he wants, and like he just knows the routine and knows the flow of it so well. Okay, so do you have any screenshots you want to go through, or should we move on?
let's go to the next tier.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's look quickly at this tier 2. So this is amongst rated by odds, and what names stick out to you here? Let me reshare my screen. All right, tier 2, and I'm going to do this as well.
And the name that jumps out, the 2 names that immediately jump out are actually tier 2 is fascinating because
It is,
you got
yeah.
Hideki Matsuyama, who now wins the Genesis, is back on the radar. He hadn't won in years, right? He's a past Master champion. Those are
Yeah,
pretty good odds.
Hideki was probably one of the only exciting wins on the PGA Tour, and it happened in a fashion that was totally anticlimactic because he won about an hour and a half or 2 hours before the leaders finished, or before before the last group finished. So and nobody caught him,
And the
but
last group was
that was
Schauffele
good.
and Cantlay.
Yeah, and they really performed poorly that day, and that's a major championship course, not set up in major championship fashion, but they've had the PGA Championship there in the U.S. Open.
Now we've got JT. This guy breaks up with Bones right before the Masters. That can't be a good sign to switch things up. And his game is very much easily going off lately in terms of getting very cold.
Yeah,
And
Justin Thomas keeps like he's almost like from hanging out with Tiger Woods. He has this like comeback-itis. Like he keeps like, I'm back, and you're like, bro, you're not really back. It's like because he keeps thinking like he'll have like 1 round or 2 rounds good, but then immediately go back. Like he's shot some enormously high scores. And the other thing
didn't
that's
break 80
worrying
in 2
to me,
majors last year. Remember that.
what's that?
Justin Thomas didn't break 80 in 2 majors last year. Had to get all this, support from Jordan Spieth and Zach Johnson to get on the Ryder Cup. Really didn't earn it, and his game still isn't there. He's back to now. He's down to in the like maybe 25th in the world on the OWGR, which is in reality he's probably like 35th or 40th.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up real quick. I just want to see what he is in the TUGR.
I mean, JT was out there at one point with pool noodles, looking like he just watched a Be Better Golf video.
Yeah, well, there's major champions that watch Be Better Golf.
Well, in a good way. Like he needs
Right.
he needs to reach out to him.
No, yeah, right. Okay, so let's go to Justin Thomas. Yeah, okay, so he's 29th on the TUGR, but that seems high to me from what he's done. But the PGA Tour guys do have an advantage even on any ranking because Live Golf just doesn't play very often.
Now you got Cam Smith.
Yeah.
This guy, total value here, right?
Yeah, really.
A Players Championship winner, the Open winner. Game is there. He just needs to put the ball in play with the driver. Masters is a course where it's chipping, pitching, short game. So
this guy, yeah, Cam Smith, I would put him up against anybody with the putter. He's so good and he enjoys it so much. the best pre-shot routine in golf. You watch him, and his eyes are that of a. It's a different level. The He can. I think he can hit like a rogue snap hook sometimes, but I think he just likes putting so much. I could just see it I could see the meme right now of him putting the green jacket on, and just such a good putter of the ball. And I think things it would have to click a little bit. It would have to be kind of the stars aligning because you need so many different facets of your game to be good. But I could definitely see it happening.
Well, remember, he finished, I think, still top 4 when Scheffler won that year. But he had tripled like the 12th. He hit it in the water, just came apart on one hole. So he has the game for the Masters.
Yeah.
You got Will Zalatoris. That's a question mark. Is his back okay? Is his net back not okay? He seems to be coming back. That seems high odds for him.
Yeah, it does seem high. I remember he started off the year in his first comeback and he didn't break 80, and it was looking grim. He played that Tigers event,
The Hero World.
Hero
World. It looked horrible.
Yeah,
I mean, he finished dead last, only beating Tiger. I mean, the only Tiger person beat was him, right?
right. And
now you got Wyndham Clark, who's a star. Now he's a certified star. He's like Tony Finau plus. Like now it's a depleted tour. He gets to shine even more.
Yeah. That's maybe one of the only people, Scotty Scheffler and Wyndham Clark, you would think like, hey, let me delete 10 of the best players on this tour and just take them out of contention. Like you would think certain players would start like really racking up wins, like multiple wins. It really hasn't happened. Wyndham Clark has done really well. Scotty Scheffler has done absolutely amazing. I think he would be doing almost just as good even if everybody was on the tour or whatever, because he's just playing tee to green so well. But everybody else, the Rory and Justin Thomas, like if you think of all the guys that were absolutely the hottest guys in 2 years ago or 3 years ago almost, when the first Exodus happened, they really haven't taken advantage of it at all. They seem to be in this like wait and see mode, and also seeing like I think a lot of guys wouldn't admit it, but really regret not taking that initial bag they could have gotten.
Well, think about this, Brendan. If the PGA stars don't win, does the PGA Tour really have stars? Xander doesn't win. Cantley doesn't win. As you point out, JT, Spieth, Morikawa. I guess Morikawa recently won, maybe the Zozo. But in general, These guys aren't really feasting on these depleted fields.
No, and then the PGA Tour is being relegated to this like feel good story of the week, where the amateur player from Alabama, Nick Taylor, so like he wins and they say like, oh, this hasn't happened in 30 years since Phil Mickelson did it, or the Matthew Pavon wins, this Frenchman, first time a Frenchman has ever won. Or like, so each year it's like this crazy first, and they're acting as if it's like this first that just like totally organically happened. I think a lot of these like and if you look at the numbers of what gets people's attention, even though people love an underdog and they love that story, like in a movie they love it, but they love a front runner and a star winning. That's like really the thing that attracts eyeballs. Like when Tiger Woods was winning 11 tournaments in a year or whatever it was, or something like that. He was winning in an unbelievable clip. People who are these like casual golf fans start coming in to like see like what the heck is going on here? What's happening? And Scotty Scheffler started to really perform like in a on that other level. So Scotty winning more would be good, but all these like feel good stories is just not great. What do you think about? So this is an interesting one here. Dustin Johnson. So in the official world golf ranking, because he's really strictly been live only, basically live and the majors he gets into. So his official world golf ranking is worse than 200, but he's in tier 2. So what do you think about Dustin's chances to win?
He won Live Vegas apparently without much preparation. One of these guys just supremely talented. Obviously, top 7 talented golfers in the world. You never know. Remember 2020 Masters, just blew the field away, knows the course, knows what to do, could win too. You never know when he's going to pop up. Just like he's kind of like
Yeah.
a Koepka type that way nowadays. You know?
In your mind, do you put a slight, not an asterisk, but a slight exception to Dustin Johnson's Master win because he won it in the winter or fall or whenever that was? I think November or something like that. Because he didn't win it, in April. It's like it seemed like such a different course that week, and obviously there was no crowds or whatever. It was such a different Masters. It almost, even he's a Masters champion, but it almost seems like I don't know like what his success has been in other years. Do you put a little bit of an exception to his Masters win?
I don't, because then you'd have to put an exception to when Vijay Singh won. When the weather changes weird, Vijay goes out there, shoots a great number. The course is always changing, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, DJ, it counts. This Masters should have an asterisk. Ever since the live stuff started going on, there's probably 5-6 guys that should be in there that aren't in there, and there's 5 or 6 guys that are in there that shouldn't be in there.
Yeah. Well, with your second point, I definitely agree. Who would be just to get past this, who would be the 4 or 5 guys you say should be in the Masters that are not going?
I'd say very simple, straightforward. If you win on live, you should be in the majors, because you're taking guys who won the Mexico Open. Jake Knapp comes out of nowhere. He wins the Mexico Open. You have all these guys winning random events, very weak fields. If the live field is stronger than your field, and live has tons of big names, obviously, then how do you make the argument that this guy should get in? Like, you win the Mexico Open, you should get in, but you win against all these beasts on the live tour and you don't get in. It's really hard. And you're only hurting your field, because in general, the live field, at least the top 15 are such big names. They're going to help your field out.
Yeah. That's Hank Haney's contention, is that the majors will eventually have to be the catalyst to some kind of change with the ranking system, because they just don't want a cheapened product. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too now by giving these exemptions. I think Joaquin Niemann also got an exemption into the PGA Championship when the Masters announced, and that is kind of when the Masters made their invitation to him, and they talked about why. They didn't mention live at all, though. Like so it was like a obvious omission that they just never even mentioned live. They said, "Oh, we really like what he did in Australia, and we want to have the Australian Open champion and these other things." So there's, I think, this definite roadblock right now.
Well, how do you feel about, like, for example, the PGA Championship has 20 club pros get in each year? I mean, these qualifications and criteria to get in are all over the place. They're fairly arbitrary. And it's just like, why don't you just do the normal one and say, hey, you win on live, you get into these majors?
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. For the PGA Championship, I like that. I think there's like 150 some people in the field.
Right.
So it's totally different, a lot more. And then I think it's I think that is important for the game. But then I also think that the PGA and other things really need to do more things to foster the competitiveness of the teaching pros, and to keep them playing, and to make the job of a club pro more doable for a person that would be like, I would like to see more guys that are like Corn Ferry status, out there, teaching and playing Corn Ferry, like flip-flopping, like being able to like have that as a lifestyle. But there's such, and that's kind of like the way it was for a long time. But now it's so difficult to stay sharp enough to keep up, even with second tier guys.
Well, before Block did well last year, in the previous 4 PGA Championships, 4 of the 80 club pros made the cut. So people don't realize how, like, you're just throwing guys in there that really don't have any business being in there. I'm sorry, you're watering down the field where there's other guys that you could put in there who'd actually be competitive.
Yeah, good point. I mean, personally, I really like the U.S. Open and the Open Championship, that you get, like, you see those guys, let's say guys who made it through 2 stages and then certainly have a better record than the club pros that got in.
Right.
But I can see why, though. It's I think important for maybe 20 or how many you get in of the Club Pros? 20, maybe
20.
20
They have
is
a
a lot.
tournament. They have a
That's a
Club
lot.
Tour tournament, and
Yeah.
the top 20 get in, and then every other year, 0 of them make the cut.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Okay, so what do you think about? Let's go for the last couple names in tier two. So Tony Finau, who's been a little bit resurgent recently, at least on the somewhat watered down PGA Tour. He, I think, was playing not that great, but then recently he has played a little bit better.
He a few years ago he showed up in majors, and then recently he's not showed up. And then you have Matt Fitzpatrick, who suddenly realized he had a weight left in his driver that was affecting his driver, which is weird because apparently the
Yeah,
guy he tracks every shot, but he doesn't track whether or not he put a weight in the butt of his club, his driver. I don't know.
yeah, that was like an all time. I don't know. That's almost suspicious how I saw this thing with Tiger Woods where they gave him two drivers and one was a gram heavier than the other, but only like in the butt or something. And Tiger's hitting them on at testing at Nike back when he was with Nike. And they're like, "Which one do you like, Tiger?" He's like, "Oh, I like the heavy one." And they're like, "You can even tell." And that's the level. That's not just Tiger Woods. That's the level of feel any of these guys would have. So for him to continue on with this and then not, but I can see what happens. You start to think like, "Hey, it's the arrow, and it's not me." So or it's me and it's not the arrow. So and just try to beat your head against the wall, figuring it out without wanting to accept that it could be an equipment thing, but that's the type of thing like a Formula One driver would never, like the pit crew chief would never let a problem like that happen more than like 3-4 laps before they figured out, hey, there's something wrong. And I think Formula One is something that is going to be coming up more and more as golf gets more global, and these guys are going to become. I think team golf is wherever it happens is going to become more inevitable, and there's going to be more people looking. I mean, there's so much money at stake that something like that would be basically like, I think that's like Matt Fitzpatrick. That has to be like a fireable offense for him to say, "Hey, I'm not in charge of my equipment anymore. I need to hire somebody that like is checking this stuff out all the time and really." Because he probably missed out on another win or two because of that. And then finally, one of your least favorite picks for this or any major, Max Homa. Really not a believer in the abilities of Max in majors, huh? Pants.
He finished top 10 finally at the last year's Open, or British Open, whatever you want to call it. And to me, that was kind of a fluky Open. I mean, you had Brian Harman run away with it, and he's a mid-30s journeyman essentially. So I don't know how much weight I put in that. Look at his Masters record. I mean, his majors record in general, including his Masters. He's really not that guy out there in the majors at all. I mean, we've seen it before. Some guys can clean up on regular tour events, but they never perform in majors. That's Max Homa.
All right, let's move to tier three. We're gonna hustle through this lightning round. Tier three. What names? Let's just go through this and what names stand out to you here. First, Bryson DeChambeau. I haven't been paying, like, he's been doing so much social media stuff and whatever. It seems like he was like super hot, went around. He shot 59 and then he did some other things on Live, and then but he still I think has some like next level ability.
He does.
But I don't know his record at Augusta though.
Missed the cut the last 2 years. I think his best finish is 19th or 21st in 2016. It's not. It's one of those guys. Maybe it's not the course for him. No, nothing. No, and that's why his odds are 40-1. Because to me, you'd want to slam it until you actually look into his record and you're like, maybe this isn't for him.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Cameron Young, we're gonna leave alone. I don't know anything about Cameron Young other than he has a pause at the top of it. So.
I'll tell you this: I think the rest of this list. I mean, I think Min Woo Lee had a good year last year or so, but beside that, I mean, we can go right to tier 4. There's nothing special there.
Yeah, right. Tommy Fleetwood's the only name that would slightly stand out to me because I think he's just such a good ball striker. I would not expect a win because I don't think he putts well enough to win.
Brendan, how many wins does Tommy Fleetwood have on the PGA Tour?
0, I think.
He has 0 wins.
Yeah. So I could see him getting a top 15 and maybe securing some points there out of this list. But other than that, Tyrrell Hatton, I think, actually could.
Tyrrell Hatton, 1 win on the PGA Tour. I think it was the 2020 Arnold Palmer. But he's one of these guys that People think he's great. He had a high finish at a Players Championship maybe last year or the year before. But, I mean, he's really not a winning machine.
No. Okay, but now we are talking though, Pants, now about people who are not. We're not necessarily looking for a winner. We're looking for a higher finish to help with the pool. So, all right. So we'll go through to tier 4. Here we have some previous Masters champions, and then also some kind of underperformers or things like that. So, any names stick out to you in this list?
Patrick Reed. You got to go Patrick Reed on this one because the rest of them, even Tom Kim is having somewhat of an off, is out of form right now. Otherwise, I would say Tom Kim. But I'm going to say here, this list, you got to go Patrick Reed.
Okay. Yeah, and Tom Kim, you start to wonder, like, okay, is he just out of form now, or is just kind of like his the magic kind of happened and went away? So, but I think I don't know. Tom Kim is the type of guy I think like if he could maybe possibly reinvent himself as a more fit person, then I think he could maybe do something because he's
the PGA Tour,
one of the softest people.
The PGA Tour has made him the funny fat guy. Every time he's on the thing, he has to be eating chocolate or he's hanging out with Scotty Scheffler for his birthday and they're eating pizza together. You don't want to be that guy. You want to be the K-pop Korean guy. You don't want to be the chubby Korean. They made him the chubby Korean. He's most famous for walking around in muddy pants.
I know they already have a Psy, and they don't need a Psy 2 on the PGA Tour. Okay, on going through this, I really like Patrick Reed. Is just such a gamer, and he's the type of guy that could thrive. I could thrive really well in this kind of situation, and that he kind of feeds on negativity and does well when that's around. So the kind of atmosphere of live players at the Masters is going to continue to be a little bit of a black sheep or negativity cloud over it, and I could see him kind of sticking his finger in the eye of everybody else and doing well with that. Okay, so tier 5. Okay, so there's a really big name on this list called Tiger Woods. So what do you think Tiger Woods' chances are? Reportedly, Tiger Woods is dedicated himself completely to getting ready specifically for the Masters. He signed up, he's going to be there, and he's even abstaining from drinking, maybe taking sleeping pills, and one other thing. What have you heard about what Tiger is doing to prepare for the Masters?
Tiger is taking a break from sex.
Sex with who?
It's just a weird thing. It's a weird thing to put out.
Like, does he even have like this public girlfriend, or is he like?
From what we know about him, I assume he always has about 4 women around at one point.
Oh, really? He's back to that again.
Who knows? But just like you can't change the stripes on a tiger,
right?
So
no, and I think that whole thing. I mean, it's not like, hey, I'm really insanely otherworldly competitive in this one area of my life, and I'm like a chill, relaxed, cool dude in every other area. No, it's like every area of my life, and that's what I've heard is that. Same thing with Kobe, same thing with Michael Jordan, same thing with a lot of these elite performers. It's almost Bobby Jones even would talk about how he would lose 15 pounds because he was because he was so competitive. And some people have told me they think Seve got some of his problems because he was so competitive during tournaments that it actually affected something in his physiology or something. But what do you think? What do you think Tiger's chances are at the Masters this year?
I mean, if he finishes top 35, I will be amazed. The guy barely plays. Doesn't. I mean, he's withdrawing from every tournament now, right? It's like the last one, Genesis. Yeah. He's got the 911 flu. They have to. He feels flu symptoms. Apparently, they have to call 911. Can't just get him Gatorade. They have to, do this whole thing for Tiger. I don't know if he can finish events anymore. I don't, will he get through 72 holes if he makes the cut?
Yeah, he hasn't finished in an event all year. I think that, so he did his hero thing and didn't have, you wouldn't call that an amazing showing. But what would you tell me if I'm looking for some Tiger Woods hopium here? What would you tell me his only chance of having a good, strong showing would be? What do we have to look out for?
I mean, look at the weather forecast first, right? If it's cold, game over for Tiger. His body he's pushing 50, and he's still telling you he's abstaining from sex. Isn't that assumed when you're pushing 50, especially when you had that many surgeries?
Yeah, yeah.
So if he has to tell you that, I mean, like, what is he? I'm gonna
Right.
abstain from doing weighted push-ups and burpees. Well, I assume
Yeah,
you're not
right.
doing that, dude, because your body's broken. The weather
Right,
has to
right.
be. If the weather, it's like Freddie Couples. If the weather is cold, his body's shot
Yeah,
because
I
he's.
think whoever leaked this information about the sex thing in Tiger Woods is immediately on the outside of the friend circle now, because this is a distraction he did not want people to be bothering him about. And I think any journalist who asks about that will be kicked out of the media center as well, because that's just not like an Augusta kind of
What
thing
we
to
have
be
to be
talking about.
concerned about right now,
Yeah.
Brendan, is Friday night when he doesn't make the cut, or if he doesn't make the cut, does he go on a Tiger tear? I mean,
What's a tiger chair?
just
Like
just
start
Waffle House. Just
jump
go
in the car.
right to
Yeah,
give me right to the Waffle House. I'm gonna go buck wild.
yeah, yeah. It could be. It could be a. I don't know. I don't ever see Tiger becoming like a total John Daly kind of figure, but um, okay. So I think Tiger Woods. If the only thing is like, I think that was he is so focused on. He's like really gun shy with the back. So I think that he was not feeling 100% uh, from the flu or whatever it was there. And then I think he knows that if he's not 100% and he can't do certain bracing things in his body, then he can't protect his back. So he could have finished that tournament. I'm pretty sure. For sure, if he won the U.S. Open on a broken leg, he could, and he could have finished a tournament, to miss the cut at the LA Open or whatever, which is his thing. You would think he would, but I think he was really nervous about when you're tired and you're not really totally focused. That's the kind of when problems happen. And I think he was thinking about the future. So the only hope for Tiger Woods is that he has more in the tank than he's letting on. And but everybody's talking about Tiger Woods with the walking. I think that's totally oversold. But what everyone says that when they go to the Masters is that it is a difficult walk. Um, and we're just going to have to see kind of what the pimp limp is up to when he's just walking around, the practice grounds. But who knows? He could maybe. I would love to see him at least make the cut and get to see 4 rounds out of Tiger. I think that would be a huge win for Tiger to complete 4 rounds. I think that would be equal to what would have been a win for Tiger in 2000.
He's really just got to beat 35 guys to make the cut. You got top 50 and ties make the cut. The field's 88 people, maybe one more now, and then you also have the past Masters champions in there who aren't really a threat. Like Jose Maria Olazabal is not going to make the cut.
Yeah.
So
So
he can
okay,
be,
we'll come back to this list, but it sounds like Tiger would probably not be your pick of the list. Who would maybe be your pick of the list? We'll get to our actual picks at the very end of this, but who would be your pick of tier 5?
I'm gonna go
that you would start looking at.
Well, there are some names here. You got Sepp Straka, who's hot or cold. You got Keegan Bradley, who's won twice last year. Chris Kirk, he's popping up in winning the Honda Classic. He's more of a name. Steven Yeager just won last week.
Just one, yeah.
Hogard is one of the Wonder Twins, right? Nick Taylor, you got the Canadian dude. He's the hope of Canada. And then Denny McCarthy, apparently, they tell me is a great putter. But it's all like guys who all kind of blend into each other, except for Siwoo Kim, who happens to be Korean. So you got Siwoo Kim, past players, won the Players Championship. You got a hodgepodge here. If I'm going to pick one, you know what? Let's go with the Hodgegard kid.
Yeah, I like that, actually. A quick correction. Well, I got it wrong. So Nick Taylor's Canadian. He won the Canadian.
You're talking Nick Dunlap.
Nick Dunlap. Okay, yeah. Feel free to correct me.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pop on the most popping YouTube channel, right. Be Better Golf, and then make corrections. I don't want to be that guy.
No. Please correct me, because actually I know YouTubers that make mistakes on purpose just to drive comments, right. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm making legitimate mistakes. Okay. All right. Tier 6, and Tier 6 is gigantic. Some of the pools actually have you pick 2 people out of Tier 6. So a bunch of names in here. Let's talk about first though. Let's talk about who are some of the Tier 6 guys who are previous Masters champions. I'm talking Bubba, Phil,
Sergio.
So, okay, that you like. Oh, Sergio. Sergio seems to have like a fire in his belly. I've been watching his social media posts. I think in Sergio's mind, he's just as good as he was when he won the Masters.
Well, he lost that
Now,
playoff
yeah.
to Joaquin Niemann, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Liv Mayakoba.
Yeah, and you watched Live Mayakoba, and I don't think many people did, but I did, and I think people, because it was a resort course, but it was like a feast or famine thing because it was won at very low under par, but just like Joaquin Niemann won it at maybe 22 under par, he was driving it unbelievably well. So was Sergio. There was guys who were a little off with the driver who were like 12 over par for the week. It was like, even though it was a resort course, it was very, very challenging for the driver. If you were on, you could go extremely low, but if you were a little off, you'd be lost balls and all kinds of things. So I think, and that was that tournament I was telling you about, seeing Joaquin Niemann shape it, like, a hole to go like this, high fades, low running draws, and like anything you wanted. That's what was really impressive. And Sergio, yeah, he was right there. The putt, I think he actually maybe even tee to green was just as good or better than Joaquin Niemann, but I think the putter let him down on some of those closing. Like,
What killed Sergio was the fact that, well, two things happened. I mean, Sergio lost it because Joaquin Niemann at one point in the playoff did hit it into the trees and it kicked out. So it saved Joaquin Niemann, and then Sergio Garcia probably doesn't have good night vision because they literally play the last hole playoff in the dark.
Yeah, he was a good sport for that. I would have stayed another night. That was ridiculous. Like,
he did it for the people.
Let's go back.
Hats off to Sergio for doing that because he's mid 40s. That could have been one of these last shots he gets, and he's just like, for the fans, let's keep going.
Yeah,
and it's dark. You can't see anything. Yeah. You don't know what's going on at that point.
Right. I mean, I'm young. I'm super young, but I'm like, seeing my ball late at night is really, really getting difficult. That's one thing that I think one of the first things that you start to notice is like, or in like a really dark restaurant, you see the old guys with the light on their phone lighting it up. Like, that was possibly a cool move, you could call it, but also possibly like a mistake. He certainly wouldn't have done it if it was like the Masters.
Do you see that Meronk sitting right there? Adrian Meronk?
I mean, that seems like value to me. That dude has got a chip on his shoulder. He's super athletic and very, very, very good. I could see Adrian Meronk being this year's Danny Willett for sure.
He's built like a model.
Yeah.
Like, the lean, Jay Lindeberg type guy. That's their dream guy, right?
Yep. And then
but you don't know, because Charlottesville just had kind of a little bit of a resurgence a few weeks ago in Live.
And yeah, that was the one when they took that picture of all the Live guys standing that are about to go, in Miami. Here are all the 13 guys that are going from Live to the Masters. Charles Schwartzel is really the one that stood out to me. It's like if has the broomstick putter from Lab now, LEB Golf, and is like kind of have this love affair going on with that. And the ball striking, I think, is world class. So if he can get those things working there, I think him, especially, I mean, at 250 to 1 or whatever, but down in this tier, I think that could be smart.
Can I tell you my Charles Schwartzel story?
Yeah, of course.
I caddied at the Live Vegas tournament, right?
Yeah.
And I'm caddying for the Serbian billionaire, and the back nine, the front nine, we get Carlos Ortiz, and the back nine is Charles Schwartzel. And I learned that South Africans have no respect for human life.
Yeah.
This dude on the 18th hole, I'm in the middle. I'm just putting my billionaire's dude's club head cover back on his club, and Schwartzel's struggling with his driver, so he hits a second ball over my head. I'm in the middle. I went back there the next day.
Oh, because it's like a practice round almost for him. And so, yeah, right.
He's in the back tees. I'm in the white tees, and I swear, and I'm like, and then the guys in the group are like, he isn't waiting. But he was struggling with his driver the whole day, like changing it, doing all these adjustments, hitting 2 balls off every tee, one of which on the last hole went over my head.
Wow.
Is that crazy?
Dangerous. Yeah. What a horrible way to go. Killed in Las Vegas by.
He finished dead last that week, and then the next week he did well.
Yeah, and then he's done all right there. And then, all right, going through the rest of the list, Matthew Pavon sticks out to me because that's one of the names. If you look at the PGA Tour money, like he's really high up on that list,
Right.
and he's played really well. And it's going now beyond even streakiness. Like he's having some staying power up at the top of that thing, and I think that could be one that I would look at to pick out here.
I mean, the
Christo
last
Lamprecht
time really
will
a
be
European
courtesy.
out of nowhere won is like a Danny Willett. And I think that was the
Yeah.
Jordan Spieth like meltdown, right?
Yes, it was. It was the whole 12 issue that he had, and then going through now you're getting into really Stuart Hagestad will be really fun to watch just because he's a mid amateur, and this I think is maybe the third Masters he's played in or something, and he's a guy that I know because I used to do some work with the USC golf team, so that'll be fun to watch to see if he can make the cut. Really would be about it, but he would be my top pick for low amateur if that's
Look at
one
so
of the
many of
names
these
I'm gonna
names.
say.
Wouldn't you want to see guys like Abraham Answer in here, or like, as I pointed out earlier, Taylor Gooch? Then we just had Peter Malnati's in here now, and he lost by 6 strokes to Lexi Thompson over 36 holes at the Live tournament. I mean the Vegas tournament on the PGA
That
Tour.
she got into
The Shriners or whatever. They give her this random sponsors exemption, and she actually beats Malnati by 6 strokes, and now he's in there.
Don't let him forget that. That is, come on. And then, but yeah, you're right. If they could backfill, I don't know how many players are in the Masters field this year.
It's 88, potentially
okay.
89 if there's a new winner this week. So
yeah, I would like to see it get either filled up with more. Really, some of these could definitely be replaced. Some of these.
Well, I mean, you know what's weird? They always have they had, as you were pointing out, they focus on the international. So one year, Kazuki Higa won 4 tournaments on the Japan tour. He gets a special invite because he's still only like 62nd or 63rd in the world. And then he misses the cut, and then he shows why the Japan tour is so weak, and then he misses 50% of his next cuts.
Yeah.
So, you're like, you take the Japan tour, these guys really don't perform outside the Japan tour, whereas you take the Live Golf Tour, they'll go up and win your majors. So why would you not help those guys out a little bit?
Yeah, plus I think the Japan tour is very similar to Japanese baseball. I think they have certain nationality requirements. Like I think there has to it's a closed shop a little bit because you have to they want a certain it's just for the Japanese audience.
You look at the Zozo and they're filling it with as many Japanese qualifications as possible.
Yeah.
So you're like, here's your field breakdown, 70 dudes. 12 of them have to be these Japanese guys from the money list or something.
Okay, so we're going to do a snake draft here, and we're each going to pick. We're going to pick one guy from each tier. We're going to pick 2 guys from tier 6. That will give us 7 picks total. This is how I'm going to run it. So if you want to play with us, put your comment in below, and we're going to do Pants and BBG here. So you are going to get, and we'll go flip a coin. All right. So I'm holding a number here. Ready?
Got it.
Odds or evens?
Migo?
Yeah.
Evens.
Okay, odds. So I get the first pick, and then we're going to go down the list. This is how, if you guys want to play with us, put 1 pick from each tier and 2 picks from tier 6 in the comment below, and then we're going to look and add it up, and whoever wins is going to get their comment pinned, and big kudos. Way to go. Next year, I think we're going to.
Well, you know what? I'm going to add to that. Whoever wins, I'm going to throw you 2 Big Boy Pants Golf T-shirts, but you got to be in the USA because I'm not paying the shipping costs overseas.
Right. To you or to your American friend. Love it. Okay, love that. I will not ship things. I do not want to go to the post office to do that. But sounds good.
With UPS, it's okay now. The USPS, no thank you.
Right. Okay, so tier 1, I get the first pick. Looking through here, so I'm going to try to not take too long here. First pick, I'm going to steal Brooks Koepka for Be Better Golf. And you go now.
I was going to...
Oh, actually, yeah, but...
No, it's fine.
But the way it goes, you could also pick Brooks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not stealing him off the board because the way that we're going to do it, you pick whoever you want, and then there will probably be some differences later.
If it's a major, I go Brooks Koepka. We agree.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm glad I told you that because I don't want to do it. This is not fantasy football. This
Number
is
two,
a
I would have
Masters
gone
thing.
Neiman. I'm serious.
Shoot. I want to root for Neiman more. Okay, I want it to be different, so I'm going to pick Neiman. So I'm going to pick Wako. Wako. Okay. Yeah, because yeah. All right. So be better golf. Wako. Both live guys, and Brooks for pants. Okay. Tier two. Now you get the first pick.
I mean, there's two picks here, but I'm gonna go. I have to go Cameron Smith, and I know you probably think about that too.
Gosh. Yeah, because Cameron Smith was what I was going to pick. I would be Cameron Smith or Matthew
You know
Fitzpatrick.
what?
Oh, actually,
Let me
or
give you
Wyndham
Cameron Smith.
Clark.
You take. I'll take. I'm gonna take Matsuyama then.
Okay, yeah. I like. I would either have picked Clark or Smith. I'm going to go Cameron Smith because of the putter. Clark's the much better driver, but because this is Augusta, at any other major, I would be picking Wyndham Clark. At this major, I'm picking Cameron Smith. I like the new haircut. I think the haircut could be a good thing. And you're going to go from tier two. You said it just now.
I'm taking
Tier two,
a tier two. I'm taking Matsuyama.
Matsuyama.
Remember when he won the Masters and he hits it in the water on one hole, and then you hear the Japanese commentators, and it's literally like Godzilla's coming out of the water. That's what I want. I want that.
They were just crying. Okay, yeah, that'd be exciting. I wonder if Shohei Otani has big money on Matsuyama to win. Okay, let's go to tier three.
Or his translator is brokering some deals for.
Yeah, I know. If he needs a new broker, I think you're up for the job, right? Okay, let's see. Tier three. I get to go first, and I will pick from this list. So we have Bryson, Cameron, Jason Day, Shane Lowry. Jason Day, I would pick if he was 5 years younger. Terrell Hatton, Sahith. Man, this is the worst list of all of them. I like 4 and 5 better than 3. Jeez Louise. All right, Terrell Hatton is my pick. Oh my gosh, I am so far at 100% live list. Okay, that's fine though. Terrell Hatton so far. Who do you like from tier three?
You got to take DeChambeau. He's going to break that streak. Remember when in the U.S. Open, he defied logic by just hitting 350-yard bombs. And then the guy who finished second to him was also hitting 350-yard bombs, called Matthew Wolff. He's gonna finally figure out what's going on this year, and he's gonna shock the world.
Okay, I think you're trying to
At least for tier three.
yourself of this more than
At
anything.
least for tier three, that's what he's gonna do.
Okay, he's going to shock the world and be the top tier three guy. Okay, he wants to win the Masters, that's for sure. Okay, tier four we have, and so I just went first, so you go first. Tier four, a recap: Sungjae Im, Adam Scott, Corey Connors, Justin Rose, Patrick Reed, Tom Kim, Young. I know who you're going to pick.
Well, there's only two guys you can pick here, and one of them is
Right.
Patrick Reed.
Okay, so you're picking Patrick Reed. Gosh, I would like.
Can I give you a tip? He wears brown
sure.
on brown. He's a guy who's very handsome, but Uniqlo wants to abuse him fashion-wise.
Yes. Adam Scott. Adam Scott's the type of guy who he just kind of hangs around and then he sneaks into like a top 15 at the end of it. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Adam Scott. I like him more than I like Ricky Fowler, and I don't really feel like rooting for Patrick Reed.
The only other guy there is
really
maybe
like
a resurgent Justin Rose gets his game together a little bit, but that's a weak tier four.
Yeah, that is. I have not seen hide nor hair. Part of it is like I'm right now. Like I used to be like an obsessed golf viewer every single tournament, every single round. Now I barely watch, but it kind of helps me more because it's like I haven't really heard anything of certain guys, and that shows me if they were really doing well, I would have heard of something of them. All right, tier five, I go first. Denny McCarthy, Nick Taylor, Hogard, Yeager, Woods, Cole, Keegan Bradley. Let's see. I like your Nick Hogard pick, but Denny McCarthy is always like people who are on tour are talking about his putting. So I don't love it, but I'm going to pick Denny McCarthy. And is he the one that ever was saying has got the really great fashion sense? When they were asking all the guys on tour who's the best dressed, or was that who's the guy that wears the visor? Is that Denny McCarthy?
No, you're thinking of Kashmir Keith,
Yes. Who am I thinking of?
the Mizuno
That
player, Keith Mitchell.
Keith Mitchell. Okay.
Kashmir
But all right.
Keith, guy's a suave dude, looks like an actor from back in the day. Um,
Don't worry about it. Okay, so I'm picking Denny McCarthy because of the putting stats.
I'm gonna go tier 5. You know what? Why not go with Jaeger because he's in form? There's nothing else makes sense here.
Jaeger bomb. All right, and tier 6, we're gonna get 2 players from this. We go 1-2, 1-2. So you me, and so I just went first. So you go first.
I'll take my first pick as Sergio Garcia.
So you get 2 here. So
How about you go then, and I'll pick the next one so I don't eat up all the good
yeah,
options.
of course. Yeah, of course. I am going to pick way down here somewhere. There was one that we like. Okay, so I'm gonna go with the Polish model, Maronk, #1 player on DP World Tour last year, and then they snubbed him from the Ryder Cup and sent him right over to live. Who else do you like?
I need to scroll down a little. It's getting lean out here.
yeah, yeah, it is. Slim pickings. Just do Olazabal just for that.
I couldn't
Just
do that.
for
Remember when he
fire.
couldn't? He had that physical issue, and he couldn't.
Yeah, I don't even know if he'll be able to. He might
Yeah,
not even be able to finish.
I am gonna have to go. I'm gonna go Pavon because I mean, who else is there?
Matthew Pavon. I know it's kind of strange actually that he's down in this list. It does seem because on the PGA Tour money list, he's way. I don't feel like looking up now, but I know that.
How
he's
soon
like
before
way up
JT Poston becomes the real JT and Justin Thomas becomes the other JT?
there. Right. I don't know. That's another lineup guy for me. I could not pick him out of a lineup. It's a name that I've seen. Okay, so I have to make the final pick here. So I could go. I could repeat you with Sergio. I could go with my friend of a friend, Jake Knapp, who my friend is going to be out.
Would
there
you say
teaching
top
Jake
7 swings of all time, Jake Knapp?
No,
Top
I
7.
wouldn't,
That's smooth.
top 7 tempos.
Tempo. Okay, there we
for
go.
sure. Top 7 smoothness to speed ratio, #1.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely.
There's no one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no one that's that smooth and then that also that fast. That's just unbelievable.
You know who's smooth and fast is that Fast Eddie guy. You've seen him on Instagram, right? The long hit.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. He is as well. Also, it doesn't seem like which is different things. They talk about that a little bit in instruction. There's guys like Rom who have the fast twitch that can get up to 190 ball speed, and then there's guys like that might be more slow twitch, like a Phil Mickelson, that can also get to 190. All right, so but I have to make a pick here, and
Can I tell you
we're
about?
both gonna. I think. Go ahead. Who do you like?
No, I'm just going to tell you
think,
about tier 6 is huge because I almost won a $300 pool with Mito Pereira until he choked the PGA Championship away.
Oh man! And then JT rubbed it in your face.
Only two dudes. Yeah, that made me angry.
Full swing.
That made me angry.
Right.
There were only 2 people who picked Mito Pereira, and the only reason I picked him is because there's a YouTube video where it says, "Look at the sound of this guy's strike," and there's Mito Pereira just flushing it, and I was like, just randomly remember that video, picked him, and coming down to 18, he's leaking a little bit of oil. I'm like, just hold on, dude. One more par, and I got $300.
Okay, I'm also going to pick Sergio Garcia. One player I wanted to ask you about because you pay attention to Live more than a regular journalist is Bubba Watson. He's like if I could pick a guy to win, it would be Cameron Smith or Bubba Watson. Those are my 2 favorites. So what do you think about Bubba Watson's form, or is he just kind of happy to be there at this point?
I mean,
or do you think he
had just had a good tournament recently, but before then, it's like he's literally on his way to being one of the non-playing captains in a few years. It's already kind of like phasing out.
He's already talked about how he can see in the future the Range Goats having a.
Well, I mean, I'm talking within a year or two, even. Like this could be. Yeah. Liv definitely needs to work on the playing captain situation. You guys like Lee Westwood, even Phil Mickelson, Bubba Watson, they can't get relegated, but they're not. Yeah. They don't typically.
The Majestics is all playing captains.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yep.
Yeah, but plus, like, I think the captains. I think it would be cool if you did it. Free ideas. But like, if they had 5 or 6 guys, but then only 4 started, and it was the captains, the captain would need an actual role. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think if each team had more guys, but then you picked who actually would go out and play certain weeks or something like that.
The only thing with
Um,
that is then you're really down to a limited schedule. Like 14 weeks of the year, you could be on the bench.
I know. So then maybe you would have to do a type of thing where they all play, but then these are the only guys that their our scores are going to count for the team event. You know. The other thing, what did you think about it, like for Live? If or this might make it too hokey, but if every team had to have one player over 50.
I don't think it makes it hokey. I think each team should have literally like a Paige Spernak Instagram person.
Right.
Because I
Right.
mean, we want to be entertained, and you figure it's the whole environment already. Don't throw a 50-year-old dude in there. Throw a 22-year-old an Instagram golfer in there, and just let's have fun. If you're gonna go that
Yeah.
route, right?
If you're right, if there's 14 teams and they had a pool of 14 influencers, and at the beginning of the week they did a snake draft of who you're going to get, between Fat Perez, Page, and Rick Shields and whoever, that for one tournament, I could see that being really good. And the PGA Tour is kind of doing this with this Myrtle Beach thing a little bit, but in a really much more lame way.
Well, it was just weird to be like, you have these random dudes who I guess are all scratch golfers, and just because they have a YouTube presence, one of them gets into a normal PGA Tour event, right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
that's what people want. Give them what they want at this point because you've failed thus far.
Yeah. Yeah. This was awesome. All right, so the final tally. This is our list, and I'll put a comment down below with my list, and Pants will put a comment down below with his list. So on Team Be Better Golf is Waco Neiman, Cameron Smith, Terrell Hatton, Adam Scott, Denny McCarthy, Adrian Moronk, and Sergio Garcia. And on Team Big Boy Pants, we have Brooks Koepka, Matsuyama, Bryson, Reed, Steven Yeager, Garcia, and Matthew Pavon. I like both those teams right now. I'm happy that I have my team, but I like your team just as much. Everybody, it'll take you only maybe 2 seconds of your time.
Remember this though.
Yeah. Winner will get 2 t-shirts, and if you win, I don't feel like promising it's something I don't feel like doing. So winner gets 2 Big Boy Pants t-shirts. Hold on just a second. Let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, it'll take you just 5 seconds of your time to click Big Boy Pants' name in the profile and subscribe. He's got a lot of really good videos. He's put up all these videos recently. We had like a 2.5 or 3 hour conversation about golf and what I've learned through Be Better Golf and kind of my philosophy. A lot of people ask, like, you have all these other teachers. What's your philosophy on the golf swing? Pants has cut these things together into like 10-minute chunks with really good editing that kind of explain kind of where I've come to and my kind of teaching philosophy. And they're really good. I might repost some of them here on Be Better Golf. Would that be okay if I reposted some of them? And
Brendan, you are literally 90% of each video. And when I'm making these videos, I actually have like this moment of like epiphany, and I'll go out to practice stuff at the range. Like I'm not.
How's the game?
No, and that's what it is. You're like, I'm watching this. Like, wait, I got to try this now.
Sure.
So
any improvement in the last few weeks?
Phenomenal improvement.
Really? Good.
Not only that, I sleep better at night because I have all these concerns in my head, and we discuss them. I'm like, now I know the answer. I can work on this. Versus, is it A or B or C? Now I know it's A. I focus on A, and I'm going to get better.
Great. So go over, subscribe to his channel, subscribe to this channel, and we'll have him on in the future. Hopefully this is successful. We can do it before the U.S. Open. Thanks for watching, everybody. Click the subscribe button. Later. Bye. Hold on a second.